Good afternoon, everybody. Damp Sam here again, and it's Christmas. Happy Christmas to everybody. Got my Christmas tree in the background. Damp Sam Towers. Massive news in the preservation industry. What is it you're all asking? Peter Cox, which position themselves as saying that the UK's leading damp specialists, preservation specialists. They've been thrown out of the PCA or asked to leave the PCA, Property Care Association. Well, I don't know why. So there's rumours here, rumours there. PCA don't throw people out lightly. You've got to have done something persistently and not changed your ways. Just a bit about Peter Cox. Founded in 1951 by Peter Cox. Widely recognised as the UK's market leader in damp proofing. This is off their website, so I think they're going to say that. Timberwise might have something to say about that, and a few other big companies, especially one up North Yorkshire. He might have something to say about it. They've been trading for years. They earn millions and millions each year, but to be thrown out at PCA, which is the Property Care Association, is the association that provides training for damp proofing and remedial works, Japanese knotweed. They help prepare white papers for government and things like that, British Standard. And they've been going for years. They used to be BWPA, something to do with British Woodworking Association, and then they changed the name to Property Care Association around about 10, 11 years ago, maybe more. It might be even more. But from what I can gather, it's not come from PCA this, but from what I can gather, speaking to other people and looking at things online, it seems to be to do with their selling practices and sending surveyors who are not trained or not experienced on surveys and things like that, where this is where issues might have occurred. Tends to be, well, from what I can see online, it seems to be that their surveyors are commission based, and to some of the surveys are not exactly what is it they're not doing now. They're not explaining why they've asked to certain procedures and things like that. Now, in preservation industry, our industry gets a bad reputation from misdiagnosis. And if you diagnose an issue, you've got to sort of explain it, and you explain it in your survey. Now, the way I do a survey is I'll go and do all my tests on site, and through experience using moisture meters, things like that, and things I've seen down years, and my training through PCA, I'll diagnose the issues, and they're not always the same issues. Like I said before, not all damp is rising, so there's different issues what it can be. So I'll explain each one in each room, and I'll put a system in place, a repair. Now, the customers don't need to take that. They don't need to take my word for it. They can get a second opinion. But a lot of surveys are paid. Now, I think Peter Cox, I don't know what they were charging for a survey, but they were a lot cheaper than what I were. And again, from what I can gather, from what we've been told, some of the surveys leave a lot to be desired. So what's been happening is people's been looking at Peter Cox's surveys and then paid for a second opinion. And the people that's had the second opinion, the qualified surveyors, they've gone in not even known that Peter Cox has done a survey, done a separate survey, and then customers are saying, how come they're so different? And these other surveyors are standing by their decisions, and when it's been looked into, they've been at odds with each other. Now, it's not just happened in 1 week, and it's not just happened in a month. I think this has been a continuing problem over a number of years. And when I've looked into things, one of the first things that comes up is Peter Ward's Heritage House. I'm advertising Peter Ward on my channel, but Peter's got one way of dealing with things, and Peter's made a living through highlighting bad practice in our industry. So Peter likes to have to do things old school, which is lime putty plasters, lime mortars, things like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But Peter likes to put down other people's Wally damp proof, as it's called, and this is where we get this misdiagnosis from, if that's a word, misdiagnoses. So basically what you've got is unqualified people, or people that's not been trained correctly, and they've been shown one way of damp proofing, and then they'll go into a property and they'll say, and I say this to customers all the time, I'll say, next few people that come to your house, they'll say everything's got to be hacked off 1.2 metre high and it's all rising damp. And I think this is Peter's issue with things. He's going in, the problem with Peter is he's going in after getting called into these jobs, and he's kind of generalising the whole industry as people that's being like that. It is a small percentage. I don't know what percentage it is. I've not done them figures, but it is a small percentage. Our members, PCA members, I'm not going to say full industry, because I can't sort of speak for them people that have not been and are not held accountable to PCA, Property Care Association. We have to be audited every year, every 2 years, and if we're not up to standard, if all boxes aren't ticked, we get a chance to put it right, and we get warnings, and if we don't put it right, or if we're continually getting complaints from customers and mediation's not working, then you'll be asked to leave. And it's like any industry. So you've got your police, you've got your governments and stuff. First things, when problems are highlighted, they tell them to retrain. So it's like, well, we'll retrain them, because what's pointed in throwing somebody out instead of all that training. So that's the issue. So, but Peter kind of, generalises and mixes it all in one bag, where it's not like that. And it also says rising damp don't exist. It does, but it doesn't exist to the extent that some of these companies are saying. A lot of issues down to bridging, especially nowadays with all modern building and building practices. But it's massive news that Peter Cox has been sent with a tail between the legs. Like I said, they have been the biggest company in preservation sector for years and years and years. They invented a lot of systems, damp proofing systems, through working with other companies and stuff. And it's such a shame. It's such a shame. But again, from what I've heard, the more experienced surveyors have not been treated well. They've not had the sort of pay rises that they should have been getting, even though they've fetched millions of pounds into the company. And reason why they haven't got the pay rises, this came from one of the surveyors, were because he weren't giving enough leads to Rentokil, to their pest control unit, and they were supposed to get a percentage of leads to that, which is just wrong. You go and look at a job and you say what's right or wrong with that job. Now, there is a grey area, which is to do with there's preservation and remedial work. So there's a grey area, and there's a grey area for selling in our industry. So and that particular area is in your timbers. So some companies will put down that the timbers need spraying, even if there's no beetle attack or no insect infestation. Is it wrong? Is it right? That's the really grey area. It's easy for me to say, isn't it? It's these teeth. Brand new ones for Christmas, look. That's where the grey area is. So if you spray them, they're preserved. They're not going to get insect attack in future. If you spray them and they've got no insect attack, you add in chemicals that's not supposed to be done. So there's documents that say you can't overuse chemicals and things like that. But then there's also a counter argument saying, you know, if you have them protected, that you're not going to get these issues. So that's another argument. Now, I know companies that are doing it. I've seen the reports because we get sent people's reports all the time. So yeah, I just thought I'd come on here and then just see what everybody thinks. So I've been on a few different discussions. Some people say good riddance because the selling practices are that bad, they've treated the staff bad. Some people say it's a shame because they're kind of like a British institution. They've been around that long, but you know, times are moving on. Things are moving on. You know, Debenhams have gone, British Homes, all these big companies are going because they've not kept up with procedures and things like that and modern times. I'm not saying Peter Cox ain't kept up with modern times, but maybe they're looking for money before helping people, which could be wrong. So Rentokil owns Peter Cox as well. It's only Peter Cox that's been kicked out at PCA. I don't know whether Rentokil are still a member, but they are two separate companies, but they are owned by the same bloke. So yeah, it's big news for us. It's massive news for us. Good news for some companies, because with them out at way, they were based in a lot of cities. With them out at way and not being able to do a lot of, if you're in PCA and you're having say if you're buying a house, you need a pre-purchase damp and timber report done, then you can sort of, you know, go to PCA, go on their website and get a postcode search and get your nearest member. Peter Cox will come up on top of all searches, but because they're not in the PCA Property Care Association anymore, I think they're going to struggle getting this work from banks, big institutions, big buildings. I used to work with a guy, and he worked for Peter Cox, and he went back working for Peter Cox. He's dead now, God bless him. But he was telling me a story which is probably linked to one that's building that's been on telly. I watched it yesterday actually. Wentworth Woodhouse. So before National Trust took it over, is it National Trust? Before it got took over, they called Peter Cox in to do a damp and timber report through all building. Now, this could be right and it could not be right, but this is what this guy told me, Steve Aylwood, used to work for him, and he told me that the cost of the survey, I mean, it's a big place, it's 365 rooms, so I'm not doubting it, and it was a dry rot survey, so they needed an extent how far this dry rot had gone, and just for the survey it was £1 million. So you know, this is a big company. I wouldn't have minded doing it, but I think they'd have got it done a bit quicker than me.
But
£1 million would have been all right, wouldn't it? You know, just going down there. Well, just having a look round at Wentworth Woodhouse, that would have been nice. Lovely building. Nick Knowles did it the other day. And I've got a bone to pick with him because they were on about balustrades and balusters. Balusters. They were calling them ballusters or something. And he went over to Lancashire and the guys were turning these balusters. So he was asking them what they called them there, and they said, oh, balusters. And then he says, oh, in Yorkshire they call them ballusters or whatever. Guy that he'd been speaking to were from London. He weren't even from Rotherham or Barnsley. They were from London. So it was his accent, not how we call them up here. Do you know what I mean? And I'm sure on one of the links he said Wentworth House, North Yorkshire, and it's like South Yorkshire. Jewel in the crown. So it's not a rant, that's just an observation, not a rant. But it does bug me that he's saying that somebody from down south, his accent's like a Yorkshire accent. You know, it's totally different. Nick, if you're watching, in between doing your whatever it is. I forgot program. I don't watch it anyway. Put it in comments if you know a program. I don't know what it is. One of them where they go and, you know, help people, so they have to get it more and more severe. So people have to have a, you know, bigger sob story every time. So they're on a decreasing circle. So they're looking for a person that's had worse done to them. I think, you know, they started off doing them. These SOS, damn thingy SOS. They started off doing it when, you know, somebody had a fire at their house and they can't. Can you come and help us and that? You know, we had a fire, we ain't got money to do it, which is all right. Nah, it's just, you know what I mean? They're looking for worst sob story, just to get Nick crying or whatever, and all his team, because they've seen that much. They've had him on that many programs with that many sob stories that they don't cry anymore. The what they call it, they've seen so much, they're numb to it. So it has to be something really bad to get them going. So if you see Nick crying on a program, you know it's really bad. Anyway, that's what I wanted to come on and say, and just talk about Peter Cox. I'm sure they're still going, and I'm sure I'm hoping they're going to change the ways. I'm hoping they're going to address whatever it is the issue they've had with PCA. Selling practices or whatever, or, you know, either do the surveys, things like that, the training, whether it is to do with training. And, you know, I'd like to see them back in PCA, but I know some people won't, but time will tell. But on that note, I'm going to sign off by saying, I hope you have a very happy Christmas and a brilliant new year. And that's Damp Sam signing off on a eve before Christmas Eve. See you later. Please subscribe. That'll be my Christmas present. Subscribe it and share.